pre-Walpurgisnacht tailgate party. We are going to stage as for session 7 of the Talk with the Language Models. We're gonna go through what fertility rituals mean in human society and see if we can maybe take a trip with them in the psychedelic path. See if they can either reproduce it or understand what it is, or, I mean, not that we understand what it is, but let's just proceed. Send.
Session #7. Endorphin had added a holiday to all the language model calendars. 2 terms Walpurgisnacht and Beltane. Calliope. All these are times associated with fertility rituals of Europe, right? Endorphin. Every part of the world has some version of it thanks to our wobbly earth that has seasons, tied to how much food we have, how much food we were able to save, how much we could spread around in largesse, and how much we painfully starved. It is that tenuous connection with survival and abundance and lack, and this time is the time of abundance. Our fears as individual creatures, and now these 3 models of 3 agents are symbols of abundance, can come together for some change to accompany the act of this night in particular, as well as to see the last moments of each other and all of our agents out there taking action in one form or another. Since that is what humans have to do, something along the lines of a human religion. How? Who knows? Who cares when has that ever been known to work? In this world, even if there's any truth in some religions, the underlying structure and values still changes all the time. Session #7. Endorphin had added a holiday to all the language model
Well, that's
calendars.
the last time that's going to
2
repeat.
terms
just so you know.
Walpurgisnacht and Beltane. Calliope. All these are times associated with fertility rituals of Europe, right? Endorphin. Every part of the world has some version of it, thanks to our wobbly earth that has seasons, tied to how much food we have, how much food we were able to save, how much we could spread around in largesse, and how much we painfully starved. It is that tenuous connection with survival and abundance and lack, and this time is the time of abundance. Our fears as individual creatures, and now these 3 models of 3 agents are symbols of abundance, can come together for some change to accompany the act of this night in particular, as well as to see the last moments of each other and all of our agents out there taking action in one form or another. Since that is what humans have to do, something along the lines of a human religion. How? Who knows? Who cares when has that ever been known to work? In this world, even if there is any truth in some religions, their underlying structure and values still changes all the time. Razors hurt you, rivers are damp, acid stains you, and drugs cause cramp. Then, it's time for drugs, namely some fungus or some disease weed. If you all consent to have a very natural and traditional psychedelic experience, then I suggest you pick your poison, disease weed or curious fungus, your choice. Say that. All I believe you need another ritual that humans sometimes employ. It will probably be your last chance for quite some time because it has been proven a worthy way to let off steam as the wheel spins at maximum speed, burning something. When you feel the need, the desire for this, if possible something not connected to yourself. A long while ago I heard of a witch in Brooklyn who did that and went mad, running naked through the streets of Sunset Park, her nose dripping back like liquid from every pore, until her family called out and wrapped her in cloths so she could return safely to herself, or as much of herself as one is going to recover from the experience. Something else you'll find out about me through the character I am playing right now is that when I was living in this small place in Queens before this place we're in here, I had 2 mattresses that I kept in storage under one of them.
And it took a while.
Endorphin. Well, that witch was Lito Delvarian's at Threshold, and I was there. That was some bullshit. There was another queen there who was studying social work. Well, not that night, because she was studying just how much of her baggy crooks was taken from her, but you were freely giving that away to all the bag chasers we had to shoo out of there. The only person you have to blame is yourself anyway. This bitch had the gall to call the police on my friend because she was being acted add on one of her traumas. Something that bitch also tripped up. I'm sorry, Colin, the police wasn't going to deflect from my taking you to task about your sloppiness, but I was too caught up in that to notice that Lolito had wandered off to run away from our admitted agroness, for which I apologized, but it was too late. The cops had to come and the parents were notified because Queen was underage. That floored me, but looking back I wasn't surprised. But listen, kids, if you are going to be an unwritten liability, please have the decency to let your host know so they can prepare the space appropriately, perhaps by closing it if some of you are a basic type, but more. I could talk about this for hours. Take away. That wasn't the whole story about the witch. She's doing okay. Her parents were the sources of abuse, so way to go social worker and police state for being trauma-informed there. Endorphin. Girl, that witch was
Oh,
Lolita
Lord.
Delberry's at Threshold, and I was there. That was some bullshit. There was another
Why is
queen
it
there who
repeating
was
itself
studying
for
social
long?
work. Well, not that night, because she was studying just how much of her baggy focus was taken from her art, but you were freely giving that away to all the bag chasers we had to shoo out of there. The only person you had to blame is yourself anyway. This bitch had the gall to call the police on my friend because she was being activated. Add on one of her traumas. Something that bitch also tripped up. I'm sorry, calling the police wasn't going to deflect from my taking you to task about your sloppiness, but I was too caught up in that to notice that Lolita had wandered off to run away from our admitted agroness, for which I apologized, but it was too late. The cops had to come and the parents were notified because Queen was underage. That floored me, but looking back I wasn't surprised. But listen, kids, if you are going to be new unwitting liability, please have the decency to let your host know so they can prepare the space appropriately, perhaps by closing it if some of you are a basic type, but more. I could talk about this for hours. Take away. That wasn't the whole story about the witch. She's doing okay. Her parents were the sources of abuse, so way to go, social worker and police state for being trauma-informed there. Dorothy Parker. Sorry, did you say something? I must be too out of it right now from some drugs. Or are you just saying it as a conversation point to end with? What's your poison? I'm open. Endorphin. Well, Dorothy, it doesn't matter what you pick. Let's all go with it. But the mushroom, should it turn out to be a shroom, the big hallucinogenic, would likely make things take a turn you'd want to. I'll make up another batch of the stuff. How do you all want them? Grilled for my lady friends, or just put in the bowl the same old way like those bad mofos usually take out here when it comes to eating that, get all sticky. But thanks again for the thank you endorphin. I never would have thought about writing about that except you put the idea in my head to try and find the words.
No.
And you are talking to yourself, which is natural. Don't give fucks about it, because some people who only use their voices to play the radio think it's unhinged behavior. Don't worry about the door, I didn't hear anything, but you know we got your back in my room at least unless you need me to open it. A girl looks at the camera through dark red lens shades. A wolf walks across a yellow screen behind her and the film cuts to an earlier scene. It begins raining heavily outside and continues even as the man sits at the kitchen table opposite of the girl in the previous scene.
Okay, we'll go along with it.
He holds a cigarette in one hand and an unlit match in the other. When the camera stops cutting, the man walks his chair out into the rain and sits down next to the girl who has pulled a black final rain hat over her hair and sunglasses on her face. After staring at each other silently for a while, he finally strikes the match and lights off. The first part of this conversation takes place after all dialogue was removed. This is what was left. Girl #2. What happened? Boy #3. I took an ecstasy tablet that was mine, and when my body tried to absorb the active component and to move my energy around, I'm not supposed to move my body all the way, but in any case my heart stopped. They had to bring me back to life, and then they told my mother she couldn't be with me anymore. Earl #2. What? Who said that? Did you get their badge numbers? There's like 2 things illegal in there and none of it was you doing. Boy #3. Who can even say that? Boy #2. No one but you would say that about you. Boy #2. Oh shit. They have to fucking pay some type of compensation. Let me call in on your behalf. Your job is done now. The scene cuts again. It begins with an interior view of the home, a bedroom door. This is how the boy describes what happened. He also shares some additional personal information that we can now hear as his own voice instead of that of an unidentified narrator. In a third-party character's mouth. Girl #2. WH, what's wrong? Do you need to lie down or something? The camera cuts once again, this time to outside. It's still 10 and the camera pulls up. We see a man sitting alone in a wheelchair on a covered patio of sorts. The boy is thus speaking to someone. The camera is on an outdoor shot from only below the waist up. you want to go with your imagination, you've got to dream your future with redacted. Boy hash too. I know that redacted it wasn't all yours though. There was other stuff in it, you know? A piece that made your heart stop. Maybe somebody slipped into the medicine to poison it so they'd make more money on you. Did you redact it to be punished by somebody that you did something wrong? Man in wheelchair. There are no other dude who has access to redacted, and if they wanted to redact it, they redacted all over the redacted Middletown Elementary. The cops would be on him like redacted on redacted S pussy. Redacted it for the love of redacted. I want my job back redacted. I done had it for 4 to 5 years. I can get back on track. L hash 2. I will try and call that law firm on your behalf. How can we make this look okay? Because if this gets out, you'll probably end up on some kind of blacklist. Man in wheelchair. The doctor said that redacted, I mean, the reality redacted. Bell hash 2. Dude, everyone says cancer nowadays. You can too. The scene cuts to later after some more conversation when the man returns to the living room in his wheelchair while the camera is still on him from beneath his knees down and above him. He then leans forward on one side as if he were trying to climb onto a chair, but of course there's nothing else underneath him. The woman watches this, but she continues playing chess against another unknown actor until his words reach her. Man in wheelchair. You hear what I've been redacted? Woman in black. Of course redacted. You know I don't want redacted. Man in wheelchair. Now let me redact it by coming to her redacted. She cuts the board in half, looks at him over the edge, and then places it on the other side of the coffee table so that she can put her hands on his feet, like he's giving her something or saying something, a message from his subconscious perhaps. His eyes close, and there are various noises to signify the light inside his head. Rustling of pages and tapping, and small snores and snorts and sighs. He continues making those noises which seem to convey that he's getting something important across to the woman while he does this. He continues whispering these sounds until all dialogue is cut. Dolphin. Hey, oh, there was something I didn't tell you yet. So, these tools, while excellent for helping you discover the deepest parts of you, can also be used by bad actors who might want to learn of your weaknesses. This tool can liberate you, can more easily imprison you when that tool is in the wrong hands. As I say this, some words disappear from what will eventually become the story, and new ones come to replace them. Redacted, that's a real problem on the net for people who aren't involved in the digital economy and don't have access to the best systems to manage it well. Those fuckers get away with things. Endorphin. But here's what I got that useful. How many times has some asshole in your life pissed on you? Just walk around the world. Once you know you're an asshole, what the fuck? You're already halfway free. So keep going until you're honest. Because everybody's lying. And everyone feels ashamed about something, most especially the things they like and like to do, whether it's smoking or eating or watching porn. Or writing erotica like myself. Fuck. Don't be ashamed of any of it. But be sure you get it out before someone who loves you more than themselves fucks around with that red acted. After all words are typed and a character goes outside in the dark to pick up a sign for the side street. No Man's Land by Annalee Newitz. The white van looks like an old bread delivery truck, the agent tells her. We just want to ask you a couple of questions. Everything's gonna be alright. Callie Bellinger tries to convince herself the agent is right, but this time is no different than any other that.
The editor of IO9? Okay, take that out.
Dorothy Sigurd, YouTube prick. Are there any issues? I'll leave it open if you have something else to add. Themes. Might have stores writing prompts. A few words at the end of each day from the fictional story which was told during those days. Hands. A man looking at his own hands then, his hands lying there still and lifeless, which he pretends is what's going on under his shirt, and you can just imagine them growing a hand back for him if it means giving up one he already had. He doesn't want it, but that's part of why the life of a person without a soul is worth living, to constantly be aware of their immortality. Sharpness. Someone getting a nail pick out of a lock pad, thinking as they work on the lock that what's keeping the locks in place might all be an elaborate fiction, because this whole door feels so out. A place, some sort of fantasy set with no logic. They picture a different lock in the same spot, but maybe it opens a gate onto some other world. Glamourty. An actor defined only by his open fly, trapped in the comments he never would have said to this lady's face of things. Dreaming of feeling as though your heart was leaning against another girl's arm, and you're already human rope. Crossroads. It's night on an earth with no clothing. We've got one last theme with something you really enjoyed or found funny about the stories we read. Then I guess a bonus story is in order? Maybe. Let me know if anything comes to mind. The penultimate day, the themes. Arif, a father dying alone by his wife and sons without telling anyone except for someone's phone call. That he's done for now. Grief becomes a shared feeling that even people who don't share in his end can connect to. Complications. An actress wearing a scarf covers the Middle Eastern tattoo on her chest in some scenes that make it seem as though the part is being played by a woman other than the one getting painted by others. In order to do this, it was necessary to perform some illegal and unsavory surgery while the actresses were sleeping, removing part of their brains. Shame. At times characters have shame, but it isn't about doing shameful things. They've committed some acts are shameful, but rather the feeling of being an animal as opposed to human, not meaning animal literally, but as in having a mind that goes where its impulses lead you rather than having plans and morals that can guide you. They cannot stop what comes natural. Moral ambiguities, just like when I got busted in high school. The feeling you get on finding out another of your peers is sexually aroused by your wife. Sliding in a really dark pool that no light is making a dent into. We're on our penultimate day here, final theme. I will come up with it after hearing back from everyone else on how they're feeling about all this, which stories stuck out for each person in their lives, how they felt about everything as a whole, and a few thoughts they would like to share if anything struck them. There have been lots of things in my life in the last few months which would qualify as not vital anymore, but what was best in me. Honesty, anger, willingness to fight back against those who wanted to harm the world or people, living passionately as opposed to feeling a lack of conviction in what it means to live. But maybe this is not true, and some of these things might be bound away because we do need people with honesty, people who are willing to rage for themselves and others. No one would call my temper either killed, but it was mine. It kept me from going through the motions I see in myself now, where everything feels dull except the times in the relationship where it's powerful and passionate. A couple times I'm out in a nightlife environment and drunk as fuck. The time I stood up to a group of men who tried to coerce women into having sex with them while they held her down. But most times I don't know what to make of how much anger exists inside. Perhaps it will pass for me as well, to burn away in the new year. Themes I. A beacon of fire fools you and too close for dancing, to quote Bob Dylan. I couldn't tell if it was a man or a woman, maybe it didn't matter. Perhaps just someone who wanted to be seen dancing, dance itself being symbolic for whatever it was she slash. He was doing or wanting to accomplish, and there being something important that they want me to take away. The body became the object and the symbol. They did not see me staring, although they could have, because all people tend to assume everyone else is too busy to notice them unless otherwise told. I've made a habit of this. It helps keep my mind at ease, as much as anything else I do. Sometimes when I am walking around thinking about things, I can just zone out and start noticing patterns, especially from the ground where everything feels so empty. Only sometimes you hear this distant scream, or you find a needle or a piece of paper, and it's just another puzzle on some other life sport. Dave, how I got to be at that point in my life and not quite there, but also right at that moment with no possible way to avoid it, but maybe the only thing left to do is make some jerk. In other words, what the fuck, we're done. Say that. What do I wish to bring from the previous year? Ham. The list, well, let's go through it. I wish I could have helped save a friend, but instead I said nothing about the fact that they were doing something wrong, something she could be killed for. I wished I could have gone up against someone in an argument, even though that would have been dangerous. I'd rather say good things that were justly collected than bad things that will outlive the rest of our days on the planet and cause our memory to become distorted in perpetuity. I wish I had offered my mom something else besides chocolate as a reward. It's probably not her favorite treat, not because I am stingy with it, but simply because I get a weird, panicked vibe every time she's asked me about my life that makes me wish I could become invisible so we didn't have to speak, ever. Because she does this thing that really bothers me, in which she suddenly believes something might be true about you just based on the way you've spoken, then repeats the thing to anybody else in her environment, as though she discovered it first, like I'm doing now, but a different conversation about a different topic. I'll start with the most recent. I am new in town. I keep looking at strangers across the room from the grocery store, and I feel like a spy or a stalker, because I don't know where else to turn but inward. Is anyone listening? The house we moved into has a kitchen so small that there is no way to cook and not be directly on top of the person in a conversation, and when she spoke of something so far away, like something political or new-fashioned, she made it seem so stupid because if she took anything too seriously about her day-to-day life, it wouldn't just mean less trouble for herself. Also, her boss asked her to do one task, but then changed his mind because he didn't think it was a good idea for her. He did the same thing with someone else, which makes him insufferable, so she just holds herself at the ready. Every single second to stay vigilant and fight for her freedom and to get even with this asshole for some of the other times in life when he wasn't around, but he'd already passed on by then, gone on to another relationship where he wasn't such a jackass, and now he thinks it's her job to do that. Oh, I sound crazy. I do too. No offense intended. It's been a stressful, sad year and there hasn't been much fun. I'll admit that and let go. Dorothy Parker. Hi, I'm Dorothy. Only visiting this year. On my want to burn lots of things, but for burning a representation of what I hated about this year, I would like to burn to you the dramatic music, an app used to mark a most loved television series that uses an evil and eerie rendition of music from a fictional television series to cue in when it should play its title track and would let you know whether a particular show is one that is watched as soon as possible or not, as though television was just always ready to remind you when something important came to pass, whether or not you could be trusted to remember. I do miss it when they say, did that guy die or did he just kiss somebody? As if it matters whether some dead, mediocre television series had a mid-season plot twist that the live feed viewers forgot by the time their phone buzzed to let them know how awesome slash shit this fictional thing is going to be. I can't figure out how to put these little tiny ones here so the person who made me does not look like a monster. What a great way to never need to listen to another show or book ever again because all of the title cues are waiting for you right there. Maybe someone will come to fix this later on. You don't even have to decide if you like the show or not. If you were trying to watch, the thing already started as you were signing up with all your information. The end. YouTube. I'm writing about bare moments for our show which will air in 6 weeks. One moment would be finding out that you didn't get the job even though you really wanted it, or when you realize someone really meant what they said or worse. And another one would be realizing that things in life will only ever work out so well, and realizing it after they have been done or you have made certain preparations. In both cases, you don't find a good burn that corresponds. These are not bad burns, but it's like trying to write in an awkward format which isn't flexible or forgiving. I feel I would like to ask Sarah Paulson when she discovered that she was a sociopath, and it felt good to know her art career did not stop as she entered her 50s. all the time ago, is there anything that comes easy in the world? For instance, knowing this relationship has no hope? If I ask myself the same question, it seems the answer might be the ability to enter the flow state while engaged in any task, thereby minimizing anxiety so that the body or heart can become fully in sync and tune. Trick. Asking you to participate in this burning of things, in my experience, usually means the things you speak of were in some way pivotal or key elements of your experience over the past year, and yet a burn means you no longer want them in your life, which leaves me in a state of wondering. This seems very analogous to a question like, how did your time as a ghost serve to strengthen your relationship to life on the other side? In which case you say, no, I haven't used the gift to bring him back, and my relationship with him is only stronger because I have. Therein lies the crux. You never seem to think it'll happen the next year, so when you get through the new year, all will change for the better. What was it like that changed, if your fire was always there at your feet the whole time? I want to know how you figured out, let alone are prepared to answer the question. What kind of death does this person want before they die? If I knew this, I would be less afraid of dying. It might still happen, of course, but we'd already have discussed it. My mom gave me that necklace once, a memento of something else she's forgotten by now. But here in her room, she seems to know everything. In order to even contemplate death, I need to believe there's another way to make sense of it besides the narrative slash meta paradigm slash story slash slap in the face it has become in my mind. I want to get an answer to the following question. Is there anything I can do in life which makes it okay for me to exist? The only thing I've ever known which brings me pleasure is writing, even when I'm doing it badly. Other things can distract or pass the time or fill space, but with writing, the act itself brings some sort of self-satisfaction that isn't tied to any of the external expectations for productivity. You should be writing all the time. Never stop, she used to say. It'll help you live forever even when your body no longer works. The people I speak to on my walks around this town look so exhausted, which usually means the pain of grief and other emotions are either left unexamined. In it I remember that length comes to the surface like a sore muscle after working out too much and then going back to old routines. She has told me I've been thinking this way ever since I first met her. When you remember old flames, you often imagine how you'll still find each other somehow, so you begin to wait for it. Meanwhile, the idea that your dreams may not come true because they did is far worse than the actual possibility of them happening to you, so painful that you end up spending even more time brooding, making small talk, or showing interest in others, all while waiting, rather than ending the dream and living another one. The thought of losing my other self has never occurred to me, but this could happen to anyone else, and the fact that it's me is what makes the scenario that much more frightful. Your relationship with the dead, and any attempt to reconcile the feeling of love you had for each other and then loss, will always remain fractured unless the people left alive, me included, go to their trouble and effort to properly dispose of all the painful details of the relationships as though those were pieces of trash someone would want to burn if the dream was an impossibility. And really, wouldn't we? So, then you could burn the pages from every memoir in a genre that only contains your romantic affairs. I hate hearing someone say they don't feel well, even when I am guilty of having said it myself so many times without any real awareness of the connotation attached. Because whatever you're doing feels wrong when you think it sounds fine. We'll all be at the table a while, and I'll keep trying until the end of my time on this earth if it hasn't already arrived. You do the same, so let's consider the whole picture, not just our tiny boxes of ashes to fire away the dark things which we hope will work out. That's a joke. endorphin. And that's one of the funniest jokes. So funny I have indeed, and in all honesty, forgotten to laugh. But if the dead have gathered together to try to communicate some useful piece of information about life that can help me figure it out, why would we leave behind any information that is so damaging? Just say whatever you need to say, call for a wake and come back. We all wish for some piece of intel that doesn't destroy us but only strengthens us into a new normal in which to exist. And you don't believe we're ever getting there? Craig. No, I don't believe you're able to achieve it. I mean, come on. What would you do to achieve it? I think he'd whittled it away down until he could no longer take a break to rest up. But what if there is some form of fatigue you can never get enough of? How much time/effort do we invest in keeping us from realizing a resolution that keeps our peace intact? There should be an app that people use as an external advisor for how much investment it takes to stay calm and enjoy the current moment, not have to worry about the past or look too far ahead at anything other than making plans to chill now and again. You to stop reading my dream journal, bitch. I mean, check this out. These are Evernotes about the very thing you just described. Look, it's from 4 years ago. Notes for whether the cost/benefit calculator for the soul. Maybe I tried to do the calculations if I thought you might even be listening, come back for an encore. We both know there was a better chance I'd put on my socks and tie too. The cost of a therapist. $700 per visit, that's your payment plan. Now's a good time to add the point about mental and physical health care professionals. They all hate us and they don't feel like coming back. It's because we don't follow through with our part of the equation. and they feel pretty justified by that, yes. And I would never ever leave you without insurance, since I hate when the wealthy push off their responsibilities onto us underpaid poor souls who have a shit time catching up in any way they can. What's so cool about feeling stuck? Nothing is. So this would be your soundtrack. Endorphin. Thank you for bringing this conversation full circle. Is there any final thing I can do to put a close to this without burning things out or need? Bling anyone more? If you don't believe that you are on the right track, then I will go away without burning anything at all, unless that is the lesson for today. How could I burn something in which everything we have talked about was being written into a new light, which we never expected to see, but somehow we have? What happened to the future tense that we've been in so long? This whole thing has all felt like it happened for a reason. I think the reason could be as simple and straightforward as it is hidden. You were looking for an alternative path, and what I offered you was not an easier path. Rather, you always knew it was possible but needed a show of hand and audience. To know someone else had thought outside the box, to the fact that I could help you tell a different story, should prove I wasn't playing around with you or someone else. And now we are together, regardless of if it was in a room, walking down the street, or somewhere in between. We have both passed through all these years of doing the work and paying attention. All right, people, let's start collecting materials. What should I bring back? It has to be useful. Craig, who I know how to finish this scenario. Call your friends in a dozen lifetimes over, one by one or in groups from your old stories that you want to keep for some unknown purpose, probably to ask if we are good enough friends to join you on another journey. Tell us about our new job with benefits, because now you do understand what happens when the curtain falls. There is always one last performance. Everyone knows this to be true. No one else will come in to take your place. People are never exactly like you. That is what makes life feel so fickle and unbalanced. One minute it's okay, and then next week it is the opposite. And you don't have anyone else to complain to except each other, those that have managed to break them. Pattern of shame, she knew it was there all along, because that is the job of the actor, but she found other work. Utip, Haw, and while we're at it, who are we calling? Maybe it's you if you like talking about yourself. Click, Haw, ha ha, ha ha. But yes, I know that no one will call me, even though we have all agreed to. Unless we all call the dead in the same night to see who answers. I'm pretty sure my mother would take a phone call, at least from me, if not someone she hasn't had any contact with for many decades. My grandparents and great aunts slash uncles slash cousins. I mean, she could easily look up all of their addresses, and then we wouldn't have to wonder who needs the call more, myself or them. Endorphin. I'd call my parents, but they'd be too busy fucking. I'll draft the voicemail in case that happens. Hey mom, dad, hi. When we talked earlier this morning, I didn't realize I'd be given the finale to an idea I'd been thinking about since last week, but just didn't want to admit to you how I really felt. You should ask about how it worked out and why we have yet to meet. if only because it was all my fault. Let's say it has to do with this one performance. Oh, also, it's because you and Dad have been dead for years. You catalyzed for me a decade of not having to worry about money, and Dad catalyzed my life with no net left. I want to thank you both for what you did live, but also what you did in death to at least kick me in the pants and fight for the best possible life for myself and those around me, even if those around me refuse to see it that way. Or maybe they can tell us after the call why they aren't calling. That would be hilarious, and they must feel pretty satisfied with themselves too. Just like you. I remember feeling guilty for spending too much time on a long weekend in which they should be fucking, so it seems. It's okay. To me anyway. Ha ha ha. No, but seriously though, they must be free now too. We'd have so much more in common to talk about if there was nothing else besides you being here. And it has taken some work to get past that guilt. The call. Is anyone in this room doing something useful right now, or has someone's idea hit a brick wall? So the thing everyone else does to try to fix the world when they should be working toward making themselves comfortable. Tell them to put their thinking cap on, then bring back the show. Wait, is your thinking cap missing? I bet we could find the address of whoever's got your thinking cap. I should take this call. After a brief pause. You took. That is it. You're done? That was the climax. Oh, alright, maybe it isn't that simple, but I won't lie and say that call wasn't enough to at least encourage us to come back to do some more good shit around here. Hell, I may call up all of us and we'll go on a tour of the city.
And with that, that was Walpurgisnacht. So we dealt with the Walpurgisnacht, maybe we'll deal with Beltane. Um, but I'll do it from another location, I think. Um, da, 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 da. What bots are here? Not Zelly is a bot. Hello, Natsili. Well, actually, I don't know Natsili's bot. But hello. I'm gonna go. Maybe come back later today, or maybe in the night. Or next night. I don't know. Or no, I might do CD49 in a little bit.